Welcome to another reaction stream. We're looking ahead to Game Week 16, which will be the final game week before we depart for the World Cup. And I'm going to talk about how Game Week 15 went. And yes, I captained Cancelo. You just got to laugh about it because that is probably now in the top 3 worst captaincy decisions of all time. But looking at the decision behind the kind of... I would rather look at the decision rather than the outcome, and I think it wasn't the worst decision in the world, but there were better captaincy options in my team. Despite Salah facing Tottenham, I didn't expect him to score a brace, of course. He would have been a better option, and Trippier was actually my original vice-captain, and I should have stuck with it. So a mixture of bad luck and bad decision-making there in terms of not sticking with my original decision. But there you go, there's not much more you can do. And my one free transfer last week was Callum Wilson in for Ivan Toney, and then Wilson subbed up for halftime. Newcastle score 4. Wilson gets a 1-pointer, and his replacement, Chris Wood, scores in the second half. So it's just one of those weeks. Andreas Pereira scored the penalty. Mitrovic, of course, missed out. Anderson will be coming in for me. So Andreas scored the penalty, but he is second on my bench, and I'm not going to get his points. So there you go. A few points from the Arsenal players, Ben White and Saka, who both got yellow cards, and the Saka one was ridiculous in my opinion. And what else is there really to talk about? Trippier's going to get a 12-pointer, by the way, with 3 bonus points, and Salah with a 15-pointer. Rashford was another one, actually, of my... I'm forgetting which transfer I made at this point. I think I already had... yeah, Callum Wilson was one of my transfers, but I also made a late move for Rashford for a -4 hit. So, actually, in the end, if the website just continued to not work and the app also, then I would have done even better having Haaland as my captain and sticking things as they were, and also potentially avoiding the -4 hit. But there you go. I've scored 41 points with the hit taken into account, and I just have another captaincy kind of tale to talk about. So is my season over? I wouldn't say just yet, but it's almost there. I've kind of written it off already, and what I'm going to try to do is just make content and try to advise you as best as possible, and basically don't do what I do, otherwise you're going to be in for a world of trouble. I'm going to go through all your questions and comments, and don't worry, there'll be World Cup Fantasy and UCL Fantasy content very soon. There could even be a UCL Fantasy first draft video, because we have the Champions League draw tomorrow, so keep an eye out for all of that content. So when FPL is over, don't worry, the content will still be churned out on this channel. Welcome Offline, and welcome Harry. I feel your pain. I've done the exact same thing on top of getting Rashford in for a -4 hit, which, to be fair, I think that was the worst decision I made this week, getting Rashford in for a hit. Yeah, roll on the World Cup break. We're going to get that very soon. After that Cancelo red, all turned out good. I think the Salah brace did help me. Kind of kicking myself that I didn't really consider him for the captaincy, but there you go. Evening as well, Kev, and also Farid. City was this game week's nightmare. That's the thing, though. Normally, they're the ones that help us out. Not this time round, though. Got 60 points. I think that's fairly decent in a week like this, to be fair. Welcome, Kupsi Kup, as well. Kept Zaha, yes. And this is the thing. I actually said, you know, if it's a normal transfer, I probably would sell him to, I'm not sure which kind of options, really. You don't have Foden, but, for example, maybe Bowen, someone like that. But for a -4 hit, a lot of people were asking me, should I take him out for a -4 hit? My answer was no. I didn't expect a goal and assist, but there you go. And West Ham, once again, very inconsistent this season. Salah and Kane turned a big red arrow to a small green, yes, and they're 2 really good premium options. I'll be honest, for me, it's between KDB and Kane for the second best premium this season. But Salah, once again in the conversation after that performance, and that's Liverpool's first away victory this season. A bit of fortune as well. Got 53 points. I don't think that's too bad. I think that's quite average, I'd say. Maybe a bit better than average. I think that's pretty decent. It all depends on which kind of rank you're around, because around my rank, for example, my 41 points was awful. I went from around 900,000 to 1.2 million, and it was even worse before the Salah brace. Salah is better than KDB, gang. Yeah, I mean, the thing is with KDB, he was very lucky with that assist. You know, that was pretty much a dive. Let's, you know, face it. That was a dive. He got the points, though. I think he got 2 bonus points, if I'm not mistaken. 68, Salah captain. Fair play. That's a good score and a really good captaincy choice. Well done. Sup as well, Hoxton and also Senpai. Already got Salah in for next week versus Southampton. I've seen a few people kind of rate transfer Salah in already, even people that I know, and I don't blame you. I've done it before as well. And Salah's a great captaincy choice as well. And by the way, breaking news, Ralph Hasenhuttl has been sacked. So it will be very interesting to see how Southampton line up in that game, but you would still favour Liverpool, of course. Had Cancelo captain and Gabriel first bench. I feel your pain. I was asked questions, for example, Gabriel versus Gay, and I actually preferred Gabriel. I said this. I never expected Gabriel to score the only goal, get 15 points, of course, but I do feel your pain. I don't think it was a bad decision to bench him this week. I thought Chelsea would score. Ola, Tech, and also Big Baza. Got 51 points. Honestly, that's still not too shabby, in my opinion. Thank you, LH, but I disagree. I'm doing well. And where are you? I'm in London. That's all I'm going to say. Welcome, Chip, as well. Frustrating game week, says Chu. Took a hit to sell Salah for KDB. To be fair, though, I mean, I don't really blame you for that. I think if you were going to captain Kevin De Bruyne, I think it was worth the -4 hit on paper. But there you go. This season's been unlike any other, really. A lot of 50-50 decisions. You know, it goes right down to the wire. It might seem really close on paper, and in the end, the outcome is just absolutely insane, the differences you get. Got 40 points. I do feel for you. I've got a similar amount to you. I think it's a poor week, you know, considering my rank as well. But don't worry. We've still got another week. Then we've got plenty of time to recover. Unfortunately, a lot of us will have a similar team going into Game Week 17, but it is what it is. 60 points as legendary, pretty good. 37, once again, you know, I feel for you as well. But there you go, you're not always going to do well. And to be honest, at one point I was at like 20 points and I thought this could be the worst game week of all time for me. Thankfully it wasn't, but still really awful. And that's now 2 red arrows on the bounce. By the way, there's so many questions and comments. Try to be patient. I'm going to try go for all of them. I appreciate your patience. Wilson injured now. It looks like it. It's just a big shame with Wilson. He's always injury prone and he had this illness going into this game. So I haven't heard Eddie Howe's comments after, so I'm not quite so sure what the situation is there. Arsenal, huge W, yes, but to be fair, Chelsea were poor. It's kind of a mixture of things. Arsenal should have scored more goals and this will be a big concern in the future. If Arsenal don't kind of kill these games off, they're going to be in trouble and they won't get the wins they probably deserve. 63 points, Solanke captain, because I originally had Haaland 2 minutes before deadline. Fair play. I think Solanke got a return as well. Really good stuff. Can't be as bad as a -2 as your captain. Hi, Akraf. Got 63 this week, says Alex. Just crept into the top 12k. Currently ranked at 8th in your Dylan Russian Private League. Great stuff, Alex. Fair play. You're having a good season then. A really good season, in fact. And a fantastic position to be in. And then you've got unlimited transfers after 1 more game week. So keep it up, Alex. Really good stuff. 66, another great score, Mackenzie. Kane scoring every game. Definitely want to get so good. Yeah. He's only blanked, I think, 3 times this season. Foden to Trossard. It's a tricky one with Foden because if he does start in the next game, I think it's a fantastic option. I think Foden's been absolutely awful. Not just for those of you like me who got him in 3 games ago, 3 benchings, but also just before that against Liverpool, the goal wrongfully disallowed as well. So yeah, it kind of comes and goes really. In the end, website crashing helped me out massively. Yeah, and in the end, my app working was very costly. There you go. Thank you, Hoxton. I appreciate it. Yeah, a crap game week for me personally, but I do recognize that some people had a really good game week, at least, you know, when you consider all the circumstances. So, you know, fair play to those of you who did well. And I'm just going to hope for finally a good game week in Game Week 16, but not very optimistic at the moment. That Kane goal was so annoying. It was, but it was coming. And Kulusevski is so important to Spurs. He made a difference as soon as he came on. So I'm not too surprised that Spurs got something back. I was expecting them to score, and I wouldn't have been surprised if they got an equaliser. I got 73 points. Of course, Raf, it is good. It's a really good score in my opinion this week. And fair play, Alvarez captain, 9-pointer, 18 overall. That was a good shout, and I do like that as well. Trippier continues to hurt my rank every week. Unfortunately, he's just one of those players you have to have, in my opinion. Him and Cancelo normally. Obviously, right now, we can finally not say he's essential. He's going to be suspended for the next game, of course. So Trippier is the best defender in the game at the moment. I don't know what to say about this season. Almiron's the highest scoring midfielder. You've got Trippier as the highest scoring defender. I mean, what can you say? And Newcastle are right up there for the top 4. Season's not over for you, mate. Andy was at 1.2 million. Now he's at like 584k. True, but the kind of way I see it, and obviously I'm not going to write off the season completely yet, but at the moment I really don't care about my rank at this point. I shouldn't. But the reason why I'm a bit, let's say, pessimistic is because we've got 1 more game week and then we've got unlimited transfers where a lot of us will have very similar teams, but still room for improvement and still room for, hopefully, a decent rank at the end. But if not, it is what it is. 57 points, unfortunately. I don't think 57 is that bad, to be fair. Hello, Dylan. Horrendous week for me. Finished on 42 -4 and Captain Cancelo. Identical to me as well. I feel your pain, Kobe, and we just have to move on. I mean, it doesn't mean we have a bad team. It doesn't mean we've been awful all season in terms of our decisions, but mixture of bad luck and maybe 1 or 2 bad decisions here and there. And for me, I think the worst decision I made this week was getting Rashford. I'm actually still not kicking myself too much about Cancelo captaincy, although, you know, you wish, of course, in hindsight that you would captain someone else. Don't worry, I did worse. I sold Salah for KDB for a -4. How about that? Honestly, look, sometimes people feel better when they see someone else doing even worse or, a decision like that. But honestly, I feel for you as well. I mean, it is what it is. I don't think it was a bad decision. I did talk people against that, doing Salah to KDB for a hit. But for free, I would have done the same thing. I probably would have done that as well. But Arsenal winning Premier League, I mean, I wish, mate. Honestly, I would take finishing last in FPL and Arsenal in the league. But yeah, City are still the heavy favourites. I think they will win it, but at least Arsenal are competitive. That's all you can really ask for. The only returns I had were double digits. I mean, speak for yourself, mate. I mean, the only returns I had were minus points. Fair play, mate. Thank you for the super chat, Finn M. What are your transfer plans? And I have to say, obviously, it's really early in the week. I want to wait and see how things go. But just to show you my team for next week, this is how it stands. I think Haaland will be my captain. Salah vice. And by the way, I'll sort out my bench and everything very soon with Cancelo and all of that. But I am really just looking at Mitrovic and Wilson. I think Serbia are putting pressure on Fulham for the World Cup. So there is a chance Mitrovic doesn't feature against Man United as well. But my guess is he'll be fine for that game. Wilson will be a big concern. And honestly, just the Tony suspension did it really set down a domino effect, which went really poorly for me in the end, because otherwise I would have been looking at another striker potentially, or just keeping Tony as it was, and then maybe getting an Almiron in the midfield, which is what I probably would have preferred anyway. So really, what are my transfer plans? Just looking at what the updates are for Wilson, Mitrovic, etc., and then making transfers accordingly with them. So whoever's going to be out or is a doubt to start, I'll get rid of them and replace them. But I'm looking at the other strikers, and I'm not that convinced. I think a lot of the strikers at the moment are looking pretty poor. It's kind of we're going back to last season. Apart from Haaland and Kane, we don't have that many options. So at the moment, I'm looking at a forward transfer, but that might not be the case later on this week. So of course, I'll let you know when it happens. Yes, I will put Cancelo in right now. Probably I should just get rid of him after what he did for me. But there you go. It is what it is. So I'm trying to think. Who would I bench? Probably Anderson still. And I think Anderson will be first on my bench. Yeah, I kind of just rage transferred Cancelo in a way, or rage benched him. So yeah, I think that's how my kind of bench would be at the moment. So what you see is what could be my final team, but I am kind of tempted to make one transfer, use it, and hopefully it pays off. But I have to say, once again, I've said this a few times in the stream, for me, the Rashford decision was the worst one I made this week. In the end, though, it was Cancelo captaincy, which cost me the most. So that is how my team is looking like for next week. And there you go. Graham Potter needs to step up. Chelsea look awful now. To be fair, though, it's really difficult because he's come in mid-season and he is kind of a project. He's trying to build a project there at Chelsea, trying to implement his own style of play. And no preseason, a lot of these aren't his players. He hasn't bought in any of his players. He probably will be looking to raid Brighton with Caicedo and other players like that. I think it's a bit kind of harsh to judge him now, but he has been poor recently. 4 games without a win for Chelsea and 2 defeats on the bounce. Arsenal surely will play in the Champions League next season. Never say never. Obviously, right now, you'd say Arsenal should finish in the top 4, but it's a funny game, and they did bottle it last season for the top 4. I'm not expecting it this time round, but it is possible. Haven't regretted against Solanke yet. And to be fair, I was kind of against it this week when some people asked it. And that's why sometimes just don't listen to me. It's as simple as that. What website do you use for stats? I use Fantasy Football Hub amongst a few others, but in terms of some of the stats I show you and talk about, Fantasy Football Hub is the one I use. Why not Doherty over White? Because Emerson Real is first choice, and what I'm expecting, it really depends on what happens in midweek with the Carabao Cup. If Spurs go with Emerson Real there, then I would be inclined to go for Doherty. And actually, I think White and Arsenal have a good chance of a clean sheet there, and most of their clean sheets have come away from home, of course. Yeah, that's true, Herman. That's something I overlooked, because just for those of you that aren't aware, red card suspensions will only be served in the Premier League. But as for a yellow card, those kind of suspensions can be served in the Carabao Cup or the FA Cup. So really good point that you make there, Herman. Yeah, unfortunately, he will play next game week. So yeah, Mr. Iceman, Herman literally summed it up perfectly there. And just to kind of clarify as well, if it's a red card, well, should I say a yellow card, an accumulation of, let's say, up to 5 yellows, that means you won't be suspended in the Carabao Cup, and you have to wait for Gameweek 16 as well, and you'll be suspended for there. Join the RCN World Cup League. Thank you, Gary. I'll try to put the link very soon. Would Arsenal finish first? I hope so, but I think second is the most realistic one at the moment, and even then it could be something else entirely. My midfield is Zaha, Foden, Tross, and Martinelli. Do I transfer Foden out? This is the thing, though. At the moment, you'd say yes. but really wait for more news later on this week, and Foden could finally get the start. And if he does against Brentford, I think he could get some big returns there. So at the moment, I just urge caution. Just wait a little bit. Don't make any transfers just yet, if you can. It's so frustrating. I feel like dealing with my FPL team back-to-back poor game weeks for me. Same here, in terms of back-to-back poor game weeks, and I am kind of welcoming this break that's coming up as well. It's going to be a very interesting one. This season is unlike any other. But yeah, just this break might do you a lot of good. That's what I would say. I wanted to change the captaincy from Haaland to Cancelo, but the FPL site went down. A blessing in disguise there, to be fair. Should I keep Skamaka for Leicester at home? Leicester seem better defensively. A few weeks ago, I'd have said this is a fixture to target. West Ham are the favourites. But right now, West Ham, you know, they're still looking a bit shaky, and Leicester are looking much better. So it's a good point you raise. If you have no other kind of problems, Jonathan, then I would consider maybe moving Skamaka on. But then what are the other options? You know, Jesus, who hasn't scored in 8 or 9 games now, I think, in all competitions. You've also got Ivan Toney, who's, you know, in the midst of a kind of a scandal of gambling, apparently. And also he's facing Man City. Mitrovic is a doubt. Wilson's a doubt. Haaland and Kane are the only reliable ones, really. So maybe just keep. It really just depends on what kind of news we get with the other strikers later on this week. Wilson isn't injured. Apparently it's illness. Yeah, thank you, AGDC. He was ill going into this game as well. So, yeah, that's why sometimes early transfers can come back to bite you, which it did with me. Thoughts on CR7 1v1 with Mings. Maybe a bit fortunate not to be sent off, but Mings, I haven't seen it back fully, but maybe he was the one, you know, kind of being provocative there. Should I change the whole team for -60? I already spent 170 points. No, don't take massive hits like that. You're just going to F up your whole rank and everything. And even if you're thinking it's bad already, don't do that. Pope or Gaeta, who do you trust more? Honestly, Pope. But you've got the Chelsea fixture in mind. And as bad as Chelsea are at the moment, I still think they could score against Newcastle. What happened to the Wilson assist for the Almiron goal? No idea. That's my kind of take on it. Hi, Dylan. Good DCL replacements for Game Week 16 if he's injured. That's another one. You know, Skamaka, I think, was subbed off at half-time. DCL at 60 minutes with an injury. If he is injured, who would I replace him with? That's the million-dollar question. If Callum Wilson's fit, I'd probably go for him. Honestly, though, I mean, I'm looking down the list. Apart from Kane and Haaland, who can I really recommend? I'm going to have to look at the fixtures and then I'll give you a better answer. But honestly, the striker options are thin at the moment. Couldn't change my captain from Haaland to Salah because of the site crash. I feel for you, mate. And they have to do something about this because there's just a big overload, you know, with the team news we get. Everyone's making transfers, changing their teams. And in the end, it's absolute chaos. If only the app doesn't work for me in the last second because I was captaining Salah. Yeah, I mean, in terms of the app and the website crashing, it kind of was mixed bag for people. For some people, it was kind of a blessing in disguise. For others, like myself, it was a nightmare. Should I use our wildcard for this game week? Well, if you still have the wildcard, of course, I would use it this week. And maybe it's a great opportunity for you to just build a team specifically for Game Week 16 and try to get the best kind of team possible. I'll be honest, I think it was best to use the wildcard a few weeks in advance at least. You're not really making the most of the chip, but you know, you might as well use it. Cancelo suspended for Cup game, available for League game, exactly. Obviously, we're going to get that question quite a lot. How come your Arsenal kit is black? It's just the FPL away kit Scrum extension. If you type it on Google, you'll find it. Nunez is getting so close to a horse. Southampton could be the one. Nunez is really promising, but as an FPL asset, I'm not convinced by him. I think he can be a bit wasteful. You know, he's really good in terms of his runs. He's very promising, but I'm just not so sure he's going to deliver points really every single game, even when he should. I know he got the assist today. He's kind of a weird player. And Jesus may be a bit similar as well, especially with his finishing. But yeah, I'm not so sure about Nunez. I think Southampton's a really good shout. You know, if you're looking for a one-week punt for a striker, I would love to have Firmino or Nunez, of course. But he's not someone I'd like to have long-term. Let's put it that way. Mitrovic to Dak or Solanke. I'd have more confidence in Solanke starting, so he would be the one. Out of those two, I'd go for Solanke. May have to go without Haaland with Calvert-Lewin injured. To be honest, mate, I would try to get Haaland back. I'm very convinced he's going to start, and he's a great option this week. How comes United got humbled today? I mean, I don't know. I have no idea, mate. Honestly, no idea. I thought they'd win. Would you go Wilson to Nunez in Game Week 16? Is Cancelo out or in Game Week 16? Just to clarify, because obviously I also overlooked this as well, through my rage, you could say, Cancelo will be suspended for the Carabao Cup game. His suspension, the red card suspension, will be served there, and he will be available in Game Week 16. Just so you're aware, if he had gotten 5 yellow cards and that would mean he's suspended. That suspension can only be served in the Premier League. So with Dalot, for example, he got his 5th booking this season against Villa today. He will not miss out in the Carabao Cup. He'll be available for that, but he will miss out in the Premier League only. So really, just to kind of sum it up, yellow card accumulation is only served in the Premier League. Red cards can also translate to the FA Cup, and the Carabao Cup. Hopefully I make sense. I know it sounds a bit confusing. Thoughts on Tavernier? No, not for me. I know he scored, but no, I wouldn't consider him in FPL. But then again, I could be wrong. Maybe do the opposite of what I recommend would be my advice. But are we given another wild card after the World Cup? We get unlimited transfers, which is not a wild card, going into Game Week 17. So don't worry about it. If you still have a wild card, use it now. And then you'll have unlimited transfers yet again in 17. But it is not a wild card. And yes, we do get another one in the second half of the season. We always do. Zaha is some proper troll. To be fair, though, this is the thing with Zaha. I know he is a troll, I do agree with you, but the fixtures, West Ham and Nottingham Forest as a duo, isn't the worst in the world. And look, I'll be honest, if I, still had Zaha, I would have probably transferred him out, but not for a -4 hit. And I said this in the stream yesterday. Don't know how to break it to you, mate, but you haven't qualified for the FPL Cup. Check out FPL. What a body blow. To be fair, I actually don't care. The FPL Cup is something else entirely. I had an awful game because one of my worst probably I've ever had. Maybe it's just one less headache to think about, but I actually wasn't aware. I really hate this game right now. I need the pause fast. Yeah, and hopefully the World Cup is good. I'm hoping for it, but I have to say still, a World Cup being in November, December is a farce. Thoughts on Aston Villa players? Obviously, they look really good today, and yet another fast start. Obviously, this is Emery's first game, but even the other, a few weeks ago against Brentford, 3-0 up in 15 minutes. Which players would I really consider from Villa? Still, I need to see more from them to kind of have more confidence in them. Luca Dean, of course, is always a promising player, a lot of attacking threat, but I just wouldn't bring myself to go for Villa players at the moment. Thoughts on Billing? I have to say, at his price and below, one of the best options. We said this a few weeks ago as well. He's overshadowed by Almiron and Xhaka, you could say, but Billing is right up there. But yeah, for me, Almiron's the best one. Captain Almiron should have gone with Trippier, but at least Almiron got something. I think that's still a good return. I said this as well yesterday. My preference would have been Trippier. I should have listened to my own advice when comparing him to Cancelo, for example. But Almiron's a good choice. I wouldn't kick yourself about that. Vice Captain Cancelo, close shave. Yes, it was. I mean, look, at the end of the day, most of us have Cancelo. It's just those that really captain him that did poorly. Yeah, fair enough, Stephen. I actually didn't know my rank was that bad, and it just shows it is what it is, you got to laugh it off. Otherwise, I'd probably cry. Everton triple assets let me down this week. I have to say, though, Everton, I'd probably be very uncomfortable having one of their players, let alone 3. But then again, this Premier League is very unpredictable. Will Kane start or get rested for the World Cup? Oh, he'll start. I mean, yes, some kind of nations, for example, Serbia will put pressure on their players to be rested, Argentina, whoever you can name, but I think Kane starts. There's no chance that Spurs will bench him. He's too important for them. And also Spurs, Kulusevski came back today. Lucas Moura's kind of half fit as well. But they need Kane. They've got no one else. Heung-min Son's injured, of course, as well. Richarlison's still out. Somerville looked amazing. He did. He built on what he did last week and really good stuff. I think someone actually talked about doing Saka to Somerville for a hit. I talked them out of it, and in the end, it would have paid off. So, look, I still think Saka's the better option. I wouldn't have done it. But sometimes, you have this kind of gut feeling. Just go for it. Alvarez and KDB out to Haaland. Another -4 worth it? Oof, now that's tricky. I'm not so sure about that. Definitely, I'd wait until later this week. And let's say, for example, Haaland plays 90 or gets any kind of injury problems in the midweek game in the Carabao. Then I'd be a bit concerned and definitely not go for it. But my gut feeling at the moment is that Alvarez won't start the next game. It'll be Haaland and De Bruyne, of course. But would I take a -4 hit to get rid of De Bruyne and Alvarez? Probably not. I'd rather do Alvarez to another striker for free. That's kind of my take on it right now. Rip to the 41k people who brought in Dalot this week. Yeah, I mean, I talked about gaming on a wild card, I think, 2 weeks ago. But for this week, I just said go for sure. Save yourself the headache. Look, there's always a risk when you bring in these players. If you're wild carding or you've got a really good squad, a Dalot suspension won't hurt you that much, but bringing him in right now and you've already got other fires to put out, that will hurt for sure. I have to aim for winning the World Cup Fantasy now. Of course, you always want to win, aim to win this, but it is difficult, of course. Definitely FPL, I'm writing that off, there's no chance. Still a chance, in these other games you see on Fantasy F1 and maybe World Cup, but still difficult. Is the Somerville Leeds guy hidden gem? Yeah. At the moment, it looks like he's looking pretty good, but still, you know, I would rather go for Rodrigo from Leeds and also from FPL in terms of players around that price and below. Billing, Almiron, of course, is stealing the show. Got Cody and DCL. I think Everton assets could be fairly decent long-term, but right now it's really hard to make a case for them. The only one I'd really consider is an Everton defender or Pickford in goal, and Patterson is the best one, you know, post-World Cup. Time to get Kulusevski so much drip and chef skills. Oh, well, I mean, he has to start the next game, and he makes a big difference to Spurs' attack, for sure. I've only one more point than you. 839. Captain Salah Haaland in the final showdown. Well, at the moment, I'm going for Haaland. And yeah, I mean, I've had that bad of a week, to be honest. I'm surprised that not more people have kind of surpassed me. It's a really big kind of rank drop. But some people have had really big green arrows this week. What do you think about Enner Valencia in the World Cup? I think he's a very wasteful striker, but he is Ecuador's all-time scorer. So, look, I think he can do a good job. He's got some good fixtures. I think Ecuador can beat Senegal, and even Netherlands, to be fair, but they are the favourites for that group. And definitely against Qatar, although, you know, hosts always tend to win that kind of opening game, or, you know, it's really difficult to beat them. They're well up for it. The ref could be on the side as well. But Enner Valencia World Cup, I'd actually rather look at Estrada, who's 5 million, I believe. We'll talk more about this in the World Cup fantasy videos as well. When are World Cup fantasy videos coming out? The plan is to maybe get one out this week, but I've also got plans to do a UCL fantasy video in the next few days as well. So I'll let you guys know when the time comes. I follow my gut feeling and bench Dalot and Mitrovic as second and third subs respectively. Fair play, mate. Fair play. Yeah, with Mitrovic, there was always a little chance of him being benched against City, but I was never going to bench him, I think, unless I got the confirmation before the deadline. Or I would have transferred him out, basically. Nico to Perisic or Trent, or Mitrovic Alvarez to Darwin. At the moment, I think I would rather do Nico to Trent. That would be my favourite move. I'm not convinced by Liverpool defensively still, but yeah, from those options, it looks the best right now. We'll get more information later on this week, and then maybe I'll change it to, you know, one of these strikers to Darwin, but right now, Trent. KDB or Salah captain? I think I'd still favour KDB, but Salah, of course, is now going to be right back on the agenda, for sure. Transferring Bowen out for 8.2 million in the bank. Who should I bring in? Let me just check if he's still affordable for you, but one midfielder that I really like, and with the way West Ham are playing, I would heavily recommend is Maddison. Yeah, he's 8.2 million, right on the dot. 11-pointer, obviously, yesterday. One of them was just an absolutely ridiculous goal by Tielemans. So, yeah, I think Maddison would be right up there. I still like Trossard. Almiron, of course, is absolutely incredible at the moment. So, I like those. If we get confirmation of Foden starting, I think is a great choice. I think any one of those and Saka would be my top picks. And if I had to pick one right now, it'd be Maddison. But honestly, you can't really go wrong with any of them. Never underestimate the home country. Yes, exactly. I think Ecuador are a better team, but Qatar could definitely have the home advantage there. Worth investing in Perisic and Mitoma? Yeah, I think so. Mitoma playing more advanced as well. Really good stuff. And Perisic, you know, today he played as a striker, but that won't be the case going forward, I think. It was just a mixture of playing against Liverpool, being very defensive, and also because a lot of their options are just not fully fit. And Kulusevski should have more fitness going into next weekend, and the same goes for Lucas Moura. Yeah, I mean, it depends, Sing, because some people would have captained Salah, you know, and maybe they just had Haaland in the end, but still not too bad. What about St. Maximin? I've been asked about him a lot this season. I mean, honestly, once again, Pope, Trippier, Almiron, Wilson, if he's fit. I still prefer all of those options. And honestly, I think Almiron's enough to cover their midfield. He's not a bad option, though. And if you have a good feeling about him, go for it. I think he could do really well against Chelsea. Jesus to Kane. Yes, I think I would do it, to be fair. Jesus could get a few assists next week, but do you have confidence in him scoring? Not really. Alvarez replacement. I would wait and see, because there's still the odd chance Alvarez starts next week, although I don't think so. In terms of replacements for him, it's kind of difficult to find one. So that's going to be a really popular question this week, you know, with Mitrovic, Wilson all being doubts. So if we look down the list, if you can afford it, I would recommend a Liverpool forward, either Firmino or Nunez. And if I had to pick one, it would be Darwin Nunez. And when we look at the fixtures as well, not many that really stand out for me. Yeah, it'd be one of those two, and maybe someone a bit more accessible for you. I mean, I'm still trying to think. I'm trying my best to scrape down the barrel here, but there's nothing really that comes to mind. I think Solanke could be okay, but do I have enough confidence in him? Not really. Gabriel Jesus is decent against Wolves, but yeah, really for me, a Liverpool forward, if you can afford it, definitely. And I'd probably say Nunez at the moment. Let me know if you can't afford it, and then I'll try to reconsider and find someone else, but honestly, it's kind of a difficult one. Cancelo's not suspended for Brentford, Matthew. His suspension will be served in the Carabao Cup in midweek. Foden out now, potentially. I'm still going to probably wait until later in the week and have more information and then make the decision, because I've got money in the bank, so I don't need to make early transfers. And I don't really care about team value at this point. Kane and Haaland, or KDB and Haaland for Game Week 16? Good question. Blimey. I'd probably say Kane. Yeah, I'd go for Kane and Haaland. Yes, exactly, Ahmed. Exactly that. Also, having Dalot, well, he's suspended now. So just to make it clear, Dalot is suspended for Game Week 16, but Cancelo isn't. And the reason why is because red card suspensions, they are only... Wait, let me make this very clear. Red card suspensions transfer over to the other cup competition, so the Carabao and the FA Cup. But if it's 5 yellow cards in the Premier League, which then results in a suspension, that is only going to happen in the Premier League. So Dalot is out, Cancelo isn't. Best Bone replacement? Yeah, Alex, like I said, I gave you 5 names, and for me, if I had to pick one, probably Maddison, looking at how West Ham played and also how well Leicester are doing at the moment, and fair play to them. I was talking about them, they should sack their manager. He's turned things around for now, and they're doing a really good job. Isn't Matoma only playing with Welbeck's absence? Yep, Trossard doesn't usually play up top like he did last game, right? He's not a long-term solution tech, but for those looking for one-week punts, Matoma could be a decent choice. I probably wouldn't go for him, but he's not a bad option to consider. Salah captain against a managerless Southampton, but that can go both ways. They could be well up for it. Just look at Aston Villa a few weeks ago against Brentford. So I'm not so sure, but Salah is definitely right up there in the captaincy debate. I'd still put Haaland first, as always. But, right up there, I think Salah, then Kevin De Bruyne, Harry Kane, they would kind of make the top 4. Prediction for UCL draw tomorrow. I'm a Bayern fan. I think we'll play Liverpool. I saw something where statistically it's very likely that Liverpool will get Bayern Munich. I did see that. I have Mitrovic. Any replacements? I have also DCL. I hate to say it. Obviously, I'd love to give you a clear-cut answer, but there's not many strikers at the moment. And honestly, it all depends on the news we get later on this week in terms of Wilson, Mitrovic, etc. But if you can afford it, I'd go for Nunez. He'd probably be my number 1 pick. What is your thinking about Bowen? I have him and didn't do well. Yeah, he's a transfer out. Yes, but this is the thing with Bowen. He's a tricky one, but would I sell him now? Probably not. I know Leicester have been much better, but I probably wouldn't sell him. If you have no other fires to put out in your team, then maybe I would reconsider and do Bowen to Saka. Foden, if he's going to start, maybe you can go up to De Bruyne or Salah for sure. Why not? But for a hit, for example, would I take Bowen out? No. And I said this about Zaha this week. So obviously I'll give you more definitive answers later on when we get more information, but right now, no. Thoughts on Potter? I think it's a bit harsh to judge him right now. He's come in mid-season, none of his players, he's not had a transfer window, no pre-season, and he needs time. But he has made some poor decisions, and Chelsea fans are already, a bit sick of him. Some of them want him out already. Was the best transfer in for the last game week? What a question. I mean, I'm trying to give you the best answer. I don't want you to go down my path, but the best transfer this week has to be a midfielder or striker. And for me, it probably would be, obviously, if you don't have Salah, I'd highly recommend him. Also, I do like Maddison this week. I think one of the main ones, though, as a 1-week punt would be Nunez. He's not someone I like long-term, let me get that very clear, but for a 1-week punt, I like Nunez against Southampton. Although, let's see what Southampton side we get this week. Forgot to mention, must have missed the 5 names. My midfielders, Almiron, KDB, Maddison, Bowen, and Martinelli. So you've already got a few of the names I mentioned, like Almiron and Maddison. So who should I bring in for Bowen? For me, I'd probably go for Saka. Or if we get confirmation of Foden starting and you don't have Triple City already, which I think you do anyway, but yeah, Foden would be the other one. I have to say Saka would be the one for me, Alex. But you don't need to get rid of Bowen. I don't think you need to. Almiron, definitely, yes. Almiron, I mean, even against Chelsea, it looks like a tough fixture on paper, but honestly, Newcastle favourites. They're the better team right now. Would you sell Foden for Kulusevski? No. At the moment, no. As the week progresses, you know, when we see, for example, the City game against Chelsea in the Carabao, if Foden gets another 90 minutes or something like that, then yes, I'd probably be inclined to sell him. It's really weird seeing Foden's situation right now, and it is very frustrating as well, I have to say. It's one of those decisions I've made which has definitely backfired for me. Foden is probably the biggest FPL troll in my situation. By the way, thank you for everyone who's tuning in, by the way. So we've got like 400 people watching. If you haven't already, then you know what to do. Be sure to smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. It really helps out the channel. We're trying to get to 17,000 subscribers. Let's try to get this stream to over 200 likes. It would very much help out, and we'll keep on going through your questions. The crash kind of ruined my game week. I was going to captain Trippier over Haaland. Yeah, I mean, it could have been worse, though. Obviously, the website crash shouldn't happen, and you were negatively affected by it. But then you've also got, you know, scenarios like, for example, me, where I captain Cancelo. Oh, just so funny. And look, in the end, it can go against you or for you. In the end, the website shouldn't crash, and FPL need to do something about it, for sure. Welbeck was already on the bench and came on last game in the 65th minute, so don't think Mitoma is very nailed for next game week either. Neither do I. I don't think he's necessarily nailed, but my gut feeling is that he starts. I just sold Foden. You'll go ahead and buy him because his curse is now lifted. Oh, God. I mean, that's just making my headache even worse. Will there be ultimate transfers during the World Cup break? Yes, unlimited transfers. Yes, there will be. Yes, we've covered that before. And we still get a second wild card, but this will not be a wild card. And you won't be able to play any chips in Game Week 17 because you get unlimited transfers like we did in Game Week 1. Should we put Salah? Obviously, it's very easy now for everyone to say, let's get Salah in, but he looked really good today, and he probably should have got a hat-trick. I think if you can get to him easily with a free transfer, I'd definitely go for it, but wait until we get more information. We've got midweek games in the Carabao Cup. A lot could happen, but at the moment, my gut feeling is yes, I would go for Salah for sure. For some Villa players, Ramsey or Bailey? I still prefer Bailey of the two, but Ramsey bounced back really well from scoring the own goal, and that was a fantastic finish to put Villa 3-1 ahead. Only 2 blanks and I got 55 points. That's pretty decent, to be fair. You know, consistency, kind of low scoring, or not low scoring, but not high ceilings, but consistency from your players. It's pretty good stuff. Welcome, Junior Gamer. Crash helped me trying to replace Salah with De Bruyne. There you go. I mean, sometimes it helps out, sometimes it doesn't. But in the end, what will FPL do about this situation? It'll be interesting to see. Foden to Saka as first free transfer. Hold for more information later. Hold for more information would be my best recommendation. But saying if I had to lean one way or the other right now, it would be Foden to Saka. But let's wait and see what happens in the midweek games. Almiron with nearly 30% ownership and 0.7 price rise, yet most on Twitter don't own him. A win for casuals over those sticking with Optimal FC. I mean, it's kind of a mixture. Yes, a lot of casuals are just going for him because he's scoring points recently. But chasing last week's points doesn't always work out. Look at Callum Wilson this week, for example. I only really got him in because of Tony being suspended. Otherwise, I would have just kept Tony for that Nottingham Forest game, and there you go. But yeah, look, Almiron's a good pick. He's one of the best players in the Premier League right now. He's a contender for last week's Player of the Month. He could be this week again, or this month again. So yeah, it's kind of a mixture. Some really good managers are bringing him in. It all depends, though, on the team situation. Dylan, did you captain Dennis last season when you got -1? Yes, I did in the double game week. My worst captain ever is Sadio Mane triple captain in a double game week, and he got subbed off 40th minute. You know, nothing will top that, I think. And Mane was on for a big haul, in my opinion, for both games. And it didn't really help that Salah was my vice in that one, and he got a lot of points against West Ham, I think it was. But yeah, basically my worst captains ever. Sadio Mane triple captain, Dennis last season, and also this time round with Cancelo. Sell or keep Foden? For now, I'd keep, but it all depends on what happens in midweek. If he gets a lot of minutes, I'd be very concerned about him starting against Brentford, and then I'd probably sell. Foden to Zaha. No. Obviously, Zaha looks really good now, but it would not surprise me at all if he gets this big return against West Ham, and then against Forest, everyone brings him in and he blanks. Look, Zaha's a good transfer in this week. It's a good one-week punt, but no, honestly, I would not just do that just yet. You know, wait for the midweek games, and then we'll find out what happens with Foden. We'll get more information. Did we get baited by bias against Almiron? Maybe at the beginning of the season, yes, I agree with that, but not right now. I don't think so. risk, because even in Game Week 10-11, I was talking about buying Almiron. He was facing United just afterwards, and then he got, the 3-4 double-digit returns in a row just now. So I don't think so. I still think there's a bit of a kind of conception about Almiron, but I think a lot of us are past that. Zaha versus Nottingham Forest, yep, we covered that. Is there any point holding my transfer after the World Cup, or will it not carry over? We get unlimited transfers heading into the World Cup, so don't think about carrying over transfers. Just use them if possible. You don't need to use your transfers. Sometimes it's best to just leave your team as it is, but yeah, don't think about that. You get unlimited transfers. No transfers will carry over as a result. Who should I captain this match day? For me, it's between Haaland, and I'm probably trying to put this in order. Salah, De Bruyne, Kane. That's kind of my top 4. Any one of those is fine, and for me personally, it'd be Haaland. Foden to Maddison. Once again, we're seeing a lot of kind of Foden out questions. Wait for the midweek games, but if he does get a big amount of minutes, I'm talking about 70 plus against Chelsea, then yes, I would sell him probably, but I'd wait first because we can get a lot of valuable information before the deadline. I think the early kickoff next week is City again. So if we get another league lineup, don't be surprised. The site will probably crash again, and we have to plan accordingly. Yeah, Foden is a troll. For me, he's the biggest troll probably I've ever had in FPL. It happened last season as well. I think he got an assist for Gabriel Jesus, oddly enough, against Palace, and it was then ruled offside, and he never got a return for me. As soon as I got him out, he got a return. Forget Zaha, Foden's the real troll. Yeah, potentially. What colour is London? I mean, for me, I've always said it. For me, it's red, but people can disagree. Cancelo's the most transferred out player, which I don't understand. I think it's a rage transfer, and also because naturally you think a red card, he's suspended for the next game, but it's different in this case. This week was so painful. 2 big chances missed. Yes, I think my biggest gripe, despite the captaincy fail, was the transfer of Rashford. Obviously, it can pay off next week, but right now it's looking like a really poor decision. And then the kind of 50-50 element, I'd say, of Trippier versus Cancelo. And I did originally have Trippier above Cancelo in the pecking order. So kind of going against that was also a bit frustrating. But yeah, I can basically relate to what you're saying. Foden to Trossard, because Pep will play him midweek. Look, I think Foden will play midweek, but it's best to not speculate and instead actually wait and see what happens, and then we can make a more informed decision. I don't think it's worth making a transfer right now because it could go wrong either way. Best replacements for Cancelo and Mitrovic. Well, Cancelo will not be suspended. Obviously, it does seem like he would, but he won't be. He will be serving a suspension against Chelsea. So I'd keep Cancelo. And as for Mitrovic, probably if you can afford it, I'd go for Nunez or Firmino. And oddly enough, I have a good feeling about Firmino right now, but let's wait and see. How is DCL's injury? I'm not so sure, but he was subbed off at the 60th minute. And DCL, a bit like Wilson, is just such an injury-prone player, and he can be very frustrating. Any news on Wilson? I believe he's ill. I will try to get the information for you. I'll be honest, I saw the Arsenal-Chelsea game, then I watched the Villa-United game, and then most of the Spurs versus Liverpool game. So I haven't seen much about the press conferences, even what Arteta said after the game. So if anyone has seen, then let me know. I'll try to get it up for you right now and see if there is any updates available. I'm pretty sure there will be. Let's see if there is anything here on premierinjuries.com. Yeah, nothing yet. So I will try search it for you on Twitter. So I apologize for this, of course, but like I said, I was very engaged in the games and also setting up this stream. So let's try to get this up for you. Callum Wilson was subbed off at halftime, of course. Skamaka is another one. It's just an absolutely incredible ton of events. So Callum Wilson. Yeah, so no problems for Callum Wilson, just slight illness resulted in substitution. So there you go. Just to clarify, I'm going to bring this up on screen as well. And I'm also going to show you a few different things that I want to talk about. So yeah, this is according to Lee Ryder. This is confirmation. No problems with Wilson, just illness. Just as some viewers in the chat pointed out as well. Salah should have scored more. On other notes, were you frustrated by KDB dive? Yeah, Salah should have scored more. But in the end, the goals he actually scored were of high quality, clinical. You can't score with every chance, of course. But yeah, I do agree. He should have scored a hat-trick, but at the end of the day, the finishes he actually, plucked away were really of high quality. Was I frustrated by the Kevin De Bruyne dive? Slightly. From an FPL perspective, of course, a lot of people captaining De Bruyne. Also Haaland captainers, those who weren't able to change the captaincy. And not only that, the fact that he dives and Arsenal at the moment are in a title race, but how long will that last? I'm not so sure. But yeah, it is frustrating. And look, decisions like this happened last season for both Liverpool and City. I said this last season as well. And also City were a bit hard done by, you could say, with some decisions in that game. Some fouls not being given yellow cards, and also the red card itself. It's in the law, but it's also a pretty stupid law in my opinion. But the ref has to enforce it. I don't know. There's a lot of things you could say. In the end, at the end of the day, they won the game, and it was for a Kevin De Bruyne dive, basically. But it is what it is. So a few things I want to show you quickly before I go back to your questions. One more game week. So who is top of the fixture ticker according to Fantasy Football Hub? Liverpool at home to Southampton, who are now without a manager. So Southampton have sacked Ralph Hasenhüttl. Spurs, Bournemouth, West Ham, Forest also complete the top 5. And a few other teams that have good fixtures, on paper anyway, are Man City, Fulham and Brighton. And Arsenal actually quite low down on this, but at least at the moment, it does seem like this. Wolves is a pretty good fixture for them, but I would not be surprised if Wolves turn up for this. And it could be a tricky game, trickier than it seems on paper, but I would say it's a bit surprising to see Arsenal a bit low down here in the fixture ticker. In terms of predicted points, and this really illustrates what I said today, in terms of the best 4 captains for next week: Haaland, Salah, Kane, De Bruyne. I would maybe put De Bruyne above Kane, but I think this is a really good list. Honestly, this is a really good list. Foden in 5th if he starts. I think that's a good choice as well. Then you've got Trent, Cancelo, Bernardo and Fernandes, as well as Zaha completing the kind of top 10 there. So pretty good stuff. Haaland is once again going to be a really popular captaincy choice, and I think I'm just going to stick the armband to him every single week unless I know he's going to miss out or I've got a double gimmick player over him, basically. And anything else I want to show you? Yeah, price changes. Apparently, Almiron is going to go up tonight. He is at 104.1% according to FPL statistics. Check out that website. It's really helpful. And it's the only one I find that is reliable in terms of price rises and falls. In terms of price falls, who is about to go down? Foden, Rothwell, Sinistera, Target, and then some other players we don't really care about, basically. So Foden is the main one. And he's also went down recently as well. He has been probably my worst transfer of the season. Although I'll give Rashford a bit of time to see if he does something next week. And that's about it, really. I think we've covered everything. Now, just one more thing that maybe I want to go through is the top 10k captaincy options. And despite, obviously, Haaland being benched, and we got the news quite early, the website and the app crashed around 20 minutes before the deadline, or 15 minutes. And Haaland was 66% in the top 10k for captaincy, which is incredible. De Bruyne 2nd, Cancelo 3rd, Salah 4th, Almiron 5th. And my original vice-captain decision, Trippier, I mean, look at that kind of effective captaincy percentage, 0.50 in the top 10k. That would have been massive, captaining Trippier or Salah. In the end, I didn't, and I have paid for it. So a poor week for me, another red arrow, and I am hoping for the absolute best in Gameweek 16 and also post-World Cup. But at the moment, not much cause for optimism, but you never know. Things can change very, very quickly. So just a reminder for those of you, if you want to laugh, there you go. Captaincy on Cancelo is quite hilarious. Calvert-Lewin replacement for me, if you can afford it, like I said, probably Nunez or Firmino. I just don't like the rest of the forwards right now. Your thoughts on the Winter World Cup? Is it good for FPL? It might be good for, let's say our mental health, you could say, or maybe a break. But is it actually good for the players and the clubs? I don't think so. And it can disrupt, thinking about FPL specifically, it can disrupt your rhythm. If you're on the back of, let's say, 5 green arrows in a row, it can disrupt it. And also it maybe levels the playing field, because a lot of people will build similar teams, maybe free Arsenal, free City, free Newcastle, Trossard in there. A lot of us will have similar teams. What do you think of Mitrovic to Jesus? I actually am not opposed to it. So there is a chance Mitrovic features next game, and I think he can do really well against United, I won't lie to you. But if Mitrovic is ruled out, I think Jesus is a really good transfer. Nunez or Firmino? Yeah, I agree with Carr. Right now, I'd say Nunez. Keep Odegaard or move to Rashford? Good question. Odegaard's a really funny one because most of his returns have come against newly promoted sides. I think all of his goals have done so. I think I would do it, or I would look towards someone else. And really with Rashford, he was kind of low down in my pecking order. I talked about Trossard over him and a few others. In the end, I went for Rashford, kind of a last-minute gut feeling. But Rashford's not a bad choice against Fulham, I have to say. Even if, it could be a high-scoring game, both Mitrovic and Rashford scoring, that's what I'm hoping for. But yeah, Rashford isn't the best option long-term, but not a bad one-week punt, and I probably would do it. Liverpool defence is shaky. Can't believe Liverpool is still that high. Spurs were sloppy today, and don't think Southampton are going to do the same. yes, it's kind of difficult to envisage what Southampton are going to do. It really just depends on what their interim manager does, how they set up for the whole week. But yeah, Liverpool were very shaky, and once Spurs actually made some attacking substitutions and put a quite offensive setup, they caused Liverpool a lot of problems. No, I'm not into crypto, Rishit, no. Odegaard and Bruno Guimaraes needs to take more shots at goal. Oh, definitely. And Odegaard did take one today, but it was just over the bar, and he's just not a good finisher. It's as simple as that. Almiron on Cucurella's side, oh, yeah, please don't say that, because honestly, at this point, I'm just going to miss out on all of Almiron's points. But I'm looking forward to getting him in for the Gameweek 17 kind of unlimited transfers, and for him to start doing poorly. I agree with you. I think Almiron is a really good bet this week against Chelsea. I wouldn't be concerned about the fixture. Good stuff, 82 points, great score. You have triple Arsenal against Wolves. I like, in my opinion, you ship Wilson out for DCL or something like that. The thing is, though, Calvert-Lewin was also subbed off with an injury, and we just don't know what the situation with him is. It's not a bad shout, by the way. I was recommending Calvert-Lewin last week if you were looking for a striker around that price. But yeah, in the end, a lot of these strikers are just looking poor at the moment, unfortunately. 90 points any good? Come on, you know the answer to that. Come on, 90 points any good? Does Cancelo play versus Brentford? Yes, he does. He's going to be available anyway. Don't rule out Pep being Pep. KDB in midfield for Gameweek 16, no problems with it whatsoever. Whether I had Kevin De Bruyne or Salah, would I move from one to the other? Probably not at this point, unless we got some kind of inklings of De Bruyne being benched or something. Otherwise, just keep what you have. Because of the site crash, I now have 2 free transfers, thinking of Mitrovic to Nunez, but no idea what to do with the second. Should I do Pope to any other goalkeeper? Not a bad shout, but I wouldn't be that surprised if Newcastle keep a clean sheet, to be fair. And you might have a better kind of upgrade to make. So maybe, for example, one of your midfielders, Andreas, up to Almiron. If that was something you could do, I would highly recommend that, mate. I'm guessing that won't be on the cards for you, though. Sold Haaland for Kane. Should I reverse the move for the final game week? As good as Kane is next week, I probably would. But do not make it now. I would wait for more information, wait for the Carabao Cup games, and then you can make a better decision. Thoughts on Robertson this week? Just like with Trent, I think is a great choice. I'm not that convinced with a Liverpool clean sheet because they just aren't a great defence right now. But the attacking potential is certainly there, and Robertson looked pretty good today. Jesus to Kane, yes, I would do it, despite Jesus still being a good option. Somerville at Leeds for a cheap alternative in 3-5-2, I like it. He's not my favourite, but he is a good choice, and he's showing some serious form. Cancelo will be suspended for the Carabao Cup game. And his suspension will be served then, and he'll be available in Gameweek 16. As for Dalot, is he suspended for Gameweek 16? Yes. We don't need bot still and gets 100% of goals he wants. Appreciate the sentiment, though. Thank you, Singh. I appreciate it. Not true, though. I'm not sure what this question is, Yazan. I'd love to answer it, but you've put it a lot of times, and I don't know what you're on about. In terms of World Cup fantasy questions, we'll cover it in those respective streams and videos. Trent or Robertson, start 1 for next week. Trent, but would I bench Robertson? No. De Bruyne and Firmino or Kane and Foden if he starts? If he starts, then Kane and Foden, yeah. Do you think of selling Wilson? It's a possibility for sure, but apparently he was only subbed off because of illness. That's literally it, so I think he's fine against Chelsea. Foden out, Salah or KDB in? It's really tough. I probably favour Salah. It's really close call. Honestly, you could go for either one of them. I transferred out Cancelo, didn't know. Yeah, look, I'll be honest, I also fell for it, but I kind of in my rage, I probably forgot in midweek. I'm going to the game as well in the Carabao Cup. But yes, it's a tricky one. Obviously, it's kind of weird to say this. I've said this a few times in the stream, of course. But yes, his red card won't actually be punished that much, really, when you think about it. But the 5 yellow cards for Dalot will be, because he's suspended for the next Premier League game. So make of that what you will. Really? I think your management skills could do good in crypto. I want to make a few 100,000 in loss. Yeah, maybe. Should I keep Mitrovic and Wilson, or should I keep replace them? They didn't get me much points this week. Yeah, but I wouldn't think that way. There's still great options, overall. Mitrovic, it was really just down to probably Serbia putting pressure, making sure he doesn't play both of these games. And they've already got Vlahovic as a doubt going into match day 1 of the World Cup. And then with Wilson, he was ill going into this game. I said this on Friday. There was always a risk of him being subbed off a bit early. Not that early, but there you go. I wouldn't replace them just yet. Just wait for more information. If Mitrovic is ruled out, I'd replace him, and maybe you can go to a Liverpool forward, for example. I I wish I could move to Trent. I'm loving him against Southampton. Yes, same here. I agree with you. I think he's a great choice this week. And I wish I could make a lot of changes to my team, but unfortunately, I cannot. I'm now going to just show you quickly my my team for game week 16. I'll answer some more questions and comments, and then we'll be wrapping up. Foden to Kulusevski. I don't mind that too much, but once again, wait for the midweek games, and then you can reassess, because maybe by then, Foden gets the rest, and he looks pretty certain to start against Brentford. So I don't think it's that, simple. It looks good on paper, but I'd wait a bit. I would captain Haaland. Yeah, Zaha, he could do really well, but I would not captain Zaha. Yeah, just like with Cancelo's now added to the never captain again list, Zaha's another one. Hi Dylan, my front line is the same as yours, but midfield is Martinelli, Salah, Foden, and Almiron. Andres is my bench player, so lost points there. Who should I swap Foden for? I have 10.4 million to play with. I would keep Foden for now, but assuming that, he's a sell later on this week, I would probably sell him for, if I had to pick, I'd say Saka. And if you're not really feeling it, Maddison's another one. Any one of those is fine. I really like them still. I couldn't believe my eyes when Liverpool were on front. This has happened twice in the Premier League since 2022. Yeah, it's a bad habit to be in, to concede first. It's really important to score that first goal, especially in the early stages of a game. And yeah, Liverpool have struggled. This team reminds me a lot of the squad you had like 2 years ago. On the back of a really good season, just a lot of injuries, a lot of problems, and just complete turnaround in your fortunes. Who to bench from these 8 attackers? Who to transfer out? Who to bench from those? Probably Alvarez. And who to transfer out? Probably Wilson if he is ruled out, but I don't think he will be. It was just an illness problem. Should be fine. I would not transfer out an Arsenal player. Not Zaha against Forest, even though I'm not expecting a big return. Of course, he can do it, but I'm not expecting it. Yeah, for me, maybe, if anything, Alvarez would be the one to transfer out. And who to bench? It becomes really tough to say one name, because I'd probably give you the wrong answer there. I have 2 free transfers. I'm thinking of doing Tony to Firmino and Bowen to Trossard. I like that, Alex. I really do. Trossard is more appealing against the bigger teams, it seems, but he is a good choice. And honestly, I think I would go for something like that. Or I would also maybe do Bowen to Saka, like I told you earlier, although you wouldn't be able to do Tony to Firmino. So I like the transfers you're proposing. And if not, instead of Firmino, there's Darwin Nunez. It just really depends on your preference there. Foden sucks. I agree with you, mate. I don't want to be rude, or I don't want to be unprofessional, but I agree at the moment. Best replacement for Raya? Wow, that's a good question. I mean, 1 week goalkeeper punt. That's not what you expect the question to be asked at this stage of the season, but it's a really weird one. Who would I go for? 1 week goalkeeper punt. Wow, I mean, what a question. I would probably go for, if you can afford it, I'd go for Edison. I think City have a great chance of a clean sheet. I'd probably say him. If you can afford him, then let me know. He'd be my pick, I think, yeah. Another one is Alisson, but yeah, Edison would be my number 1 pick. Away kits, I'll just try find it, because obviously this is a really popular question. So yeah, I've got the link here. Just follow that. If you're using Google Chrome, for example, you'll be able to add it to your browser. Sanchez all day. The thing is, though, I think Villa will score. If they didn't have Unai Emery, maybe I would be a bit more, I'd say Sanchez as well. But yeah, I'd probably say Edison. What else do we have? Calvert-Lewin to Wilson, Solanke. Already got Darwin and Alvarez. Fair enough, yeah. I'd say Wilson is still my preference out of those two. I think he can get some returns there against Chelsea. Mitrovic or Solanke? Assuming they're both fit, it would be Mitrovic. 2 free transfers. Should I take a punt on Ronaldo or Fernandes? Have all the other obvious picks. I said this going into this week. I'm going to say again, I would not take a punt on Ronaldo. And as for Fernandes, I think he plays better when Ronaldo isn't in the team. I would probably go for neither. If I had to pick one, good question. If I had to pick one, it would be Ronaldo. I'd have a bit more confidence in a goal out of those two, but I wouldn't personally. Maybe Mitrovic to Edouard. Yeah, good shout. Good fixture there on paper. It's not a bad choice, but I probably will be keeping Mitrovic unless he is ruled out. Trent Robertson, Trippier, Cancelo. I prefer back 3 for next game week. At the moment, I prefer it for most weeks, but hard to bench one. Yeah, I see what you mean, but I wouldn't bench any one of those defenders this week. I don't see it. Definitely don't bench Trippier despite the fixture. Double Liverpool, fullbacks against Southampton looks great, actually, on paper. Awesome PK retirement, says S. Kelly. Very sudden, very surprising. I thought he would have left it for the end of the season, for example, but it has been coming, you could say. For years now, Barcelona fans have been asking him to leave. But, it's not an easy answer to that because, he's giving a lot of service for Barcelona. He's a legend of the game. And also, he took some massive pay cuts to even be playing for them. So he's obviously dedicated. Still a decent player, but has his moments defensively for sure. But obviously, I wish him the best. Is Perisic a good punt? I don't expect him to play up front again. I think he will, if he does start, he'll be on the left wing back position. And Spurs will probably go for... They could shift to a 3-4-3 and play Perisic left wing, but it won't happen. What he did today, playing basically alongside Harry Kane. That won't happen. But yeah, he's a good punt. Yes, that's the short answer. Start Rashford or Bruno? I'd probably favour Rashford, but Bruno is not a bad choice this week. I also went Cancelo captain. It was the safe pick. Yeah, this is kind of a difficult one because, I was originally favouring Trippier just about. It was really close for me between those two, but I did favour Trippier a little bit. In the end, I went against it, but I agree. Cancelo was a safe pick on paper, but sometimes these things happen. It's in the rules, that kind of red card. I don't agree with it, but there you go. Pickford. Yeah, Pickford's a good choice still. He was in my best wildcard team, and the main fixture to target was Gameweek 16. Start Trippier or Gay this week? Trippier still. I would never bench Trippier at this point. Yeah, Alisson's a good shout. Mackenzie. Liverpool can't blame injuries, to be fair. Yeah, the injury crisis isn't as bad as it was a few years ago, but it does play a part, having kind of constant disruption. With Liverpool, it's really strange because you either don't have injuries at all, really, it seems, or you have a lot at once. There's no in-between, it seems. Midfield with first-team quality. Yeah, no, that is true. There's a mixture of reasons. And I don't really just say, Sadio Mane left, you're poor now. I think that's a bit lazy to say. Spurs played so well in the second half. 2-2 would have been fair. They did, but why did they leave it so late? Why did Conte play such a defensive team? I do somewhat understand this time round because, Kulusevski and Lucas weren't fully fit. But why not play Brian Hill, who looked decent at least in recent games? Why not give him a chance? It's a bit strange. And honestly, look, Spurs made more errors at the back. And obviously that dire mistake in the end was costly. I maybe on reflection, when you kind of look at it objectively, 2-2 would have been a fair score. But in the end of the day, Liverpool were more clinical and they also made fewer mistakes. So 2-1's not, I'd say, an unjust score. If Mitrovic out, best replacements, for me, Nunez or Firmino. I have a really good feeling about them this week. Haaland or Kane? Haaland all day long. Mitrovic or Solanke? Mitrovic. Ramsdale? Yeah, not a bad shout as well, actually. Good shout. Wait, DH of Nottingham is Dean Henderson, sorry, yeah. On paper, also another one. I would not be surprised of a Nottingham Forest clean sheet, and I'm hoping for it, actually. I'd rather that than Zaha scoring again. Did Haaland Foden out? -4 for KDB captain, and Alvarez got him back for -4 with risk for 1 game week and take a 1 game week punt with free transfer. I'd probably get Haaland back, but it's kind of a tricky one because if you're getting rid of Kevin De Bruyne, for example, as part of the hit, then it really is counterproductive. Do you think Haaland will score 4 points more than Kevin De Bruyne? It's possible, but it doesn't seem right logically. So why Cancelo suspended for 1 game week? He is not going to be suspended. So if I refresh the page as well, he's still not flagged after yesterday's game. And just to maybe I'll try to bring up the rules section and make it clear. But basically, to summarize, Cancelo got a straight red. He has a Carabao Cup game in midweek. He's going to be suspended for that, and he's back for Game Week 16. Dallo, 5 yellow cards today. He's suspended for Game Week 16. These yellow card suspensions are only served in the Premier League. It's as simple as that. Obviously, it does seem complicated at first glance, but you do get used to it eventually. Do free transfers carry over? No, Emma. So you get unlimited transfers anyway. So if you've got 2 free transfers now and you use 1, you're not just going to have 2 next week. You're going to have unlimited. So don't think about that. Just make your transfers. Do what you think is best for your team, and then you can do a complete overhaul. I got 56 points after captaining Almiron. Nice stuff. And having Salah, Trippier and Harry Kane was really good. Yes. Plenty of points for you today, and obviously really good stuff. Great captain, and also some really solid picks today. Third and Gameweek 13, 14, 15, 67 minutes played, 3 points. Time to sell, even if he's starting. What a troll. Yeah, obviously he's one of the biggest trolls for me, but I would not be surprised if a lot of us get rid of him. Then he starts and then gets a big haul against Brentford. He's honestly just a big troll. One of the biggest I've ever experienced. Captain Salah did me well. Still can't believe people don't have Almiron in the team. Yes, I don't have him. Obviously, you can see that. I would love to. I would have got him in, but like I said before, the Toney suspension kind of made it a bit difficult, you know, because I wanted to replace him. I thought Wilson was the best replacement. I still do think that, even against Chelsea next. It's really difficult for me to kind of take hits, extra hits, just to get Almiron in. So I don't really regret it. I'd love to have him, but I don't. Just did Salah Greenwood for Foden Firmino for a -4 hit. Also considering another -4 hit for Saka to Kulusevski. Raging. I would not do Saka to Kulusevski for a hit, personally. Yeah, I think so, Mackenzie. I mean, it's a difficult decision, to be fair, but I think I would still favour Pope. I will reconsider as the week progresses. I think that's the most likely thing to change. But yeah. My overall points are only 511, but that's partly because I spent 160 points on transfers. Yeah, but don't take massive hits like that, mate. Honestly, I think you're really setting yourself back. Bench Rashford or Martinelli? Neither would be my answer, but I prefer Arsenal and their attack. I'd probably bench Rashford, but honestly, try not to bench either of them. That's my honest answer. If Mitrovic ruled out, should I downgrade to anyone and get Kulusevski instead of Andreas? Yeah, you could do maybe Mitrovic to Solanke and then get Kulusevski in. That doesn't seem too bad. I disagree with the Liverpool opinion. Now they're currently in the middle with Diaz and Matip out. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, that's a fair point. The thing is, though, Liverpool still have a very solid team. You know, they should be doing better. Obviously, they're beating some big teams now, like Napoli, for example, but they're losing to these, you know, teams that you never expect them to really drop points to. Liverpool, it's just kind of those weird seasons they're having once again. Pope to Ramsdale, for free, yes. Never take a hit for a goalkeeper. Don't take a hit. That's my big advice. But for free, if you have nothing else to do, it's not a bad transfer. Ramsdale's a better chance for a clean sheet. It's not too bad. I also captain Cancelo is so unlucky. Yes, my gripe with myself is that I originally preferred Trippier just a little bit more, so I should have stuck with it. But Trippier's return was also very fortuitous as well. You know, he came off just before Newcastle conceded. So, you know, sometimes these things can go against you, and it is what it is. Who do I bench, Rashford or Martinelli? Yeah, sorry, I mentioned that already, Eunice. De Bruyne or Salah? Salah at the moment, but it's really close. Both of them are great, and it's still really close between them. Trippier bonus points are in. Yeah, okay, we can refresh the page and show you. So yeah. Yeah, basically, so as you saw there, I got 47 points, but I've got Anderson coming in for Mitrovic. That's 49 minus the 4. Wait, what? Can I count? I don't think I can count, can I? Yeah, so I need to, I think, update my points on the left-hand side of my screen. I thought I did so already. I can't lie to you, but yeah, we might do it on stream very quickly. Just have that all set up. Yeah, I can't count, I think. That's great. So yeah, I'm gonna update this very quickly. So yeah, I didn't get 41 points in the end. I got 45. Wow, that's so amazing. So happy. So yeah, let's get this over with. Don't want to look at this rank ever again, I'll be honest. So yeah, my rank has actually not changed that much. I've literally gone up 1,000 places to what you see here. Yeah, I didn't update the points, so apologies for that. And yeah, you can hear fireworks. Definitely not fireworks for my team, that's for sure. So let's put this up. Rank. And yeah. All right, I'll get back to your questions very, very soon. That's game week points. Do I have my overall points correct? I'm not sure if I do. Hopefully I do, but 838. Okay, so I think the only thing I got wrong was the game week points. So yeah. Yeah, that's all sorted. Yep. So 838 points overall, and I got 45. So it looks a bit better. I wish I had got like 20 points free. I might go from Wilson to Darwin. Yes, I would urge caution, and I think Wilson will be fine for Chelsea, and I think he has a really good chance of of returns there. What to do with Saka? Keep. I would not get rid of him. Hi, I was here on your deadline stream and did all your transfers go through? Yes, Adil. Everything was correct. The lineup information was correct. My transfers went through and it all went to crap, basically. 92 points, really good stuff. Thoughts on Solanke as a one-week punt? He's not my favourite. I still think Everton have a good chance of a clean sheet there, but look, he's not a bad choice. And if you can facilitate a move, like an upgrade in midfield, for example, then it could be worth it. But he's still not my cup of tea, despite his return this week. Either Alvarez and Mitrovic to Haaland captain and Greenwood bench. Start Andres at -4. Andres to Anderson, Kulusevski, and go KDB captain. Yeah, it's a tricky one for you, isn't it? I would probably do... Mark, I'd probably do the first option of Haaland at the moment for a -4, but it's a close one. A really close one. Now, would have thought Almiron would be 30% owned in the first part of the... I can't even speak. In the first part of the season. Shows how crazy the season has been. Yes, that is true. I mean, what can we say? It's just an absolutely ridiculous season. Thanks, Dylan. Saka point spot on. Oh, yeah, no, it's just... Look, Kulusevski on paper, I will admit, he has a higher ceiling than Saka this week, but I would not get rid of him for a -4. I think that's not worth it. Free hit team. We could cover that. There might be a video very soon, but I'd have to think about it. I don't want to just give you a random team right now. I want to give it a good thought. Foden to Maddison. Yes, I like the idea. Despite the West Ham fixture, it looks pretty good. It is unbelievable that Saliba and Jesus have made such a difference to Arsenal team. I know it's a process and team needed time to adjust. It's the tactics, but nobody expected this. No, I don't think so. I thought Arsenal would improve on last season, especially with the transfers they had, and also having Saliba, who made such a big impact. But obviously, no one expected this. No one did. Not even Arteta's biggest fans, for example. Have one free transfer. Should I do Mitrovic to Darwin or Foden to Salah De Bruyne? Oh, mate, at the moment, it has to be Foden to Salah or De Bruyne. Either one, I'd do that. Inter vs Juventus live. I will see FPL tomorrow. Thank you, Langani. Enjoy the game, and I'll see you next time. Mitrovic, best replacement? Nunez or Firmino for me. If you can't afford them, then fair enough. I hate to say it, but I don't like the other options. But those two, for sure, for this week, I like. Firmino to Nunez, no, I wouldn't go from one to the other. I don't think that's worth it, especially for a hit or something like that. Play 2, Gay, Cody, Trippier. I'd play Trippier all day long, and then I'd probably play Cody. Although I would reconsider maybe, but definitely Trippier. Best Cancelo replacement for 1 week. He does play. He's going to be available for Gameweek 16. Just be aware of that. But if you want to get rid of him, I would maybe look towards maybe an Arsenal defender for you. So Saliba, Gabriel, Ben White. Ben White's my favourite because he's cheap and he's very affordable, good at assist threat. He'd be my pick, but he's never scored a Premier League goal. Maddison or Trossard? Good question. I would probably go for Trossard, but it's a really close one. Really close. Got Gaeta, White, Cancelo, Trippier, Salah, Almiron, Foden, Martinelli, Haaland, Wilson, Mitrovic. Yeah, good stuff. 2.4 million in the bank. Who should I transfer in? How many free transfers do you have though here? That's my question. But who would I transfer? Potentially Foden, and I'd wait for midweek and see what happens. And then I could do maybe Foden up to, maybe not up to, but Foden to either Maddison or Saka. That would be my favourite transfer, and that's all assuming that it doesn't look like he's going to start the next week. Do we get a free hit after the World Cup or wild card? Look, for Gameweek 17, we get unlimited transfers, but that isn't a chip. It isn't the free hit, it isn't the wild card, it's just unlimited transfers. What's going on with Mitrovic? He's just got an ankle injury, supposedly. I think he's just kind of being rested for the World Cup. He might play against United, but they didn't want to kind of force him over the next few days, basically, or the next few games. Reckon Mitrovic will be fit for the next week against United? Yes, but it can go either way. Would it be a good move to sell Wilson to buy Darwin? I don't think that looks too bad, but I actually would probably keep Wilson, assuming he's fit. I'd say if you've gone, get rid of Cancelo if you can afford to go Trent. Yeah, I think, yeah, that's true as well. Cancelo to Trent or Robertson. I'd probably just go to a Liverpool fullback or Arsenal defender. That's a really good point. I'd say Trossard is close, though. It's really close. Is DCL fit? No idea. We're going to have to wait and see how bad the injury is. He got subbed off around 60 minutes. Let's say circumstances remain the same after Wild Card or after World Cup. Who is nailed in the unlimited transfers team as of now, in your opinion? A lot can change, but Arsenal defender, probably Martinelli. I mean, I can show you quickly here. Obviously, I'll make a video dedicated to this when the time comes and we can go through it in detail. But yeah, if we go through this, I think we'd... Okay, this will be interesting. Oh yeah, Almiron's definitely coming in, by the way. So, Almiron, Martinelli. Yeah, Haaland's always going to be in here. I think I'd keep Mitrovic, actually. I think I'd keep him. Third striker. There's a few kind of, I'd say, 50-50 decisions potentially. Like, do you go for Salah? Do you go for De Bruyne? Do you go for Harry Kane? You know, I will admit that, but it's going to be very, very similar for a lot of us. So, yeah, Anderson, definitely not. Trippier is always going to be in here. So defenders, if we bring up this list here, you have to say you probably have to consider United players as well. So Dalot, Luke Shaw would be the main ones. I'd probably say Dalot. So here we go, Dalot. Then we've got Ben White, Cancelo, Trippier. Maybe I would go for Saliba over White, but it's not really a big difference between them. I'd probably go for Patterson, something like this. Probably the best 4 million defender, which we covered in preseason as well. In this case, I think I would go, I would go for Pope still. So it'd be Pope, Ward, Saliba, Dalot, Cancelo, Trippier, maybe Patterson. Martinelli, Salah, Almiron quite nailed on. Then it's just down to the third striker. What do I go for here? And also, do I go for Saka? So, yeah, there's just a few decisions to be made here, but a lot of this would be quite nailed on, I'd say. Definitely Trippier, Cancelo, Martinelli. Salah's not nailed on, but Almiron is, Haaland. Yeah, I think those are the kind of players I'd say are nailed on, but we'll cover that more so in detail in an upcoming video where I'll give that a lot more thought. Konate, as an FPL option, not for me. If you're looking for a one-week punt, go for Robertson or Trent for me, especially Trent. Yeah, Dalot is suspended. Yes, he is. Cancelo down to Shaw, then upgrade one of DCL or Mitrovic for a -4. No. No, Cancelo will be available next week. I wouldn't do that. I'd say Mount or Zaha for a 2-week punt. Yeah, obviously we only have one game week now, but in terms of, I'm guessing you're talking about from game week 17 to 18. That could be a shout. I'm just not so sure though. I'm loving Mount or Zaha. Yeah, fair enough, but not for me. Not at the moment anyway. Obviously, I could reconsider, but right now it's no. Sanchez or Henderson in goal for game week 16. Henderson plays. Yeah, I would probably say Henderson from those two, but it's a tricky one. Why the love for Pope? His saves potential has dropped. Why? Because Newcastle are defensive juggernaut. Obviously, they didn't keep the clean sheet today, but I'd probably say Pope because I look at the other options in goal and there's no one really that stands out. And you know, Pickford, I'd rather just go for Patterson, for example. I wouldn't go for a City goalkeeper. Same with Arsenal. For me, it probably would be Pope. I know there's a few others like Jose Sarr, Dean Henderson. You know, they could be interesting, but yeah, for me, it'd probably be Nick Pope at the moment. Do I get rid of Bernardo Silva? He's never been, you know, I've never been a big fan of him in FPL, but yes, you could get rid of him. It's kind of an awkward time to get rid of him, and also, you know, how many transfers do you have? What's the situation? Do you have other fires to put out? So I'm not so sure, but I'd probably get rid of him. Saka, Maddison, you name it, could be great replacements. Updates on DCL, he came off around 60 minutes, and we're just going to have to find out what, you know, the extent of the injury is. Your predictions for finishing top 4? I've been asked this a lot recently, actually. So City, Arsenal, I think Spurs and United would be my top 4. The thing is, if Liverpool get their act together, I think they're a better team than most in the league, if not all, with the exception of City. So, yeah, it's really for me down to that last spot. And yeah, it's kind of difficult to tell. I think I'd still go for United, but they're not convincing. I will be honest, they're not convincing for me. Should I transfer out Bowen for someone else and bring Gross off the bench for Mitrovic? I would not bench Mitrovic for Gross, personally. As for Bowen out, yeah, that looks fine. And you could go to Saka, for example. But Bowen is really good in home games. Maybe not this season, but just don't be surprised if he gets a return in Game Week 16. De Gea in goal? No, not for me. I'd just rather go for Dalot or Shaw in defence, and that's it. Do KDB and Alvarez to Darwin, or KDB to Maddison and Alvarez to Haaland for a -4? I'd rather do Alvarez to Darwin and captain KDB. I don't think so, Fado. I haven't checked. I honestly don't care. I had one of the worst weeks probably of the season, and maybe in the last few years. So I don't think I did. I have to check. Any update on DCL yet? We covered that. I got 70 points, very happy. I would be too. Sanchez has a great run of games also. He does. And obviously we'll talk more about this when we get to it. I'm not a big fan of Sanchez though. There was one stage of the season where he looked really good. Saves, bonus points, you know, good clean sheets as well. But I don't have that impression under the Zerbi. Not that he's done a bad job, but Yeah, I'm just not so sure about him. What's the Wilson situation? He was subbed off because he's ill, basically. No injury concerns whatsoever. Thank you, FPL Diamond. I appreciate it. Cancelo's not suspended. Exactly. Thank you, Dan. You've said it. And we've covered that before. While you're forcing a Brighton defender. The Game Week 16, I still like them. They're decent choices, but after what I saw from Villa today and, you know, how a managerial bounce can completely elevate a club, at least for a short period of time, I wouldn't count on it. Hot take, Maddison is the best 8 million midfielder going forward this season. In pre-season, I said he's the best. It hasn't really paid off or hasn't really gone according to plan. Maybe if I check now, I think he is the highest scoring, but overall, he's been very inconsistent up and down, injuries, you know, kind of the typical Maddison stuff. But if he's fully fit for the whole season, I could see him getting 200 plus points for sure. Alisson's just doing assists for fun, assisted Salah for the second today. Yeah, true. Not good enough for me to, you know, say he's a absolute must-have, especially in Game Week 17. But of course, all we have to focus on right now is Game Week 16. Is Saka due a rest? The thing is, though, I think he'll be rested for the Carabao Cup and start in the game against Wolves. I don't think he'll be rested in the Premier League. If he is, what can we do? But I don't think that will be the case. Jesus due to haul. I mean, to be fair, he did get a decent haul against Nottingham Forest the other day. It's just the goals. That's what we need from Jesus, and hopefully it happens against Wolves. I think that will be big for his confidence, but his finishing is poor. For me, Foden or Wilson out if injured. Yep, had enough of Foden, probably Trossard this week. Yes, I like that, and also consider Maddison, Saka as well. Really good player, and I think he'll get his rest in midweek. Yeah, I was asked this before, Penkov. I have no idea, honestly. And I didn't see the Newcastle game. I saw the other games instead. Chelsea without James and Chill are a whole different team in a bad way. To be fair, though, I do agree with you, but they were especially important under Tuchel. With Graham Potter, I haven't seen enough of those two under him, really, to say that. But it definitely was the case with Tuchel. Next week, bench Wilson or Almiron for Saliba. I'd leave both of them on, potentially, yeah. If I had to bench one, it would be Wilson at the moment. Both Wilson and Mitrovic going to transfer one out. Probably Wilson, best 1 week punt replacement. In my opinion, Nunez or Firmino. Maddison has been great for me all season. Yes, I've made quite a lot of bad decisions this season, and one of them was not starting it with Maddison, and instead I went for double Liverpool defence. Any idea why they didn't? Yeah, sorry, I just said that. Maddison not lucky for sure. He should be in the England squad, and speaking of that, yes, of course Ben White is deserving, but he won't. Even if he's in the England squad, he won't get minutes, in my opinion. 76 points on upsets. Is this your lowest game week points in the whole FPL season? I mean, 76 points in the upset. I don't want to comment on that. Reece James after the World Cup? Potentially. But with what we've seen from Chelsea and also Reece James when he was fit, I'm not so sure if he's that nailed on in terms of the wild card or the unlimited transfers, should I say. Take a -4 hit for De Bruyne or Salah. Depends which player you take out. But let's say, for example, it's Foden and it looks like he's going to be benched. Yes, I would. Will Foden play next game week as there's no Champions League? There's no Champions League, but there's Carabao Cup. So I'm not so sure. My gut feeling is that Foden will play against Chelsea and he'll be benched against Brentford. But I've been wrong about Foden in the last few weeks, so I'm not so sure. Like Anthony, if he's fit for Foden for the last week, not for me. Obviously, the fixture's there, and Anthony was showing some good form at the beginning, but still not too sure about Anthony as an FPL option. Got Saka, Maddison away to Leicester, though. I mean, yeah, West Ham, yeah. Still, I think Maddison's a good choice. West Ham have looked awful. Obviously, they got the loss today against Palace. I don't think many expected Zaha to get that big return. My team had an error on the deadline, and Wilson ended up on my bench. In the end, though, Newcastle scored 4, and Wilson gets a 1-pointer. It wasn't too bad. Solanke 1 week punt. I don't think Everton will be that bad in Game Week 16, but he's not a bad punt. No doubt about it. And if I wanted a cheap striker, it'd be Solanke over Skamaka and all these others at the moment, yeah. Yeah, FPL Diamond, yep, I agree. Kulusevski punt, yeah, I like that. From Spurs, apart from Kane, Kulusevski's the one for me. Also, Mitoma's a differential. He's not someone I'd like to have long term, and obviously that doesn't matter because it's a 1 week punt. But I think he will start the next game, and he's a really, really good player. You know, whenever he comes on, he makes a difference, and I think he will start and he'll do a good job. Cancelo not banned next Saturday then as midweek? Yeah, exactly, Joshua. You've said it. Is Zaha a big risk against Nottingham considering that Palace underperform in away matches, or should I start him? With Zaha, my kind of prediction, and I could be wrong, is that he won't do anywhere near as well in Game Week 16 when everyone gets him in compared to 15. But he's got the fixture. He's technically got the form, at least from the last game, and he's not a bad shout. I wouldn't get rid of him, but at the same time, would I bring him in? I'd still look elsewhere, personally. I feel like Southgate only chooses his squads based on previous squads and favourites. Well, yeah, he's got that kind of squad, that team spirit, and he's not really going to disrupt it now. Jesus punt, maybe? Yeah. Against Wolves, the thing with Jesus, though, is his finishing is poor. He's very frustrating, and that's now 8 games in a row where he hasn't scored. So, look, just be prepared for a world of pain with Jesus. I actually prefer the Liverpool forwards this week, but Jesus is probably one of the next best options behind Kane and Haaland, of course. Who's the best option for the last game week for Foden's price range? I'd probably say Saka or Maddison. Is Cancelo suspended or what? Dalot is suspended, Cancelo isn't. Cancelo will be suspended for the Carabao Cup game. Maddison to Foden. Southgate, take notes, please. To be fair, they're different players. Foden, I think his kind of best position right now is on the left-hand side. Maddison as the attacking midfielder / central midfielder. I don't think you can compare them. They're both great players. Maddison's better for goal contributions, I say, and set pieces. Foden is a better dribbler, and yeah, he's just a quality player in general. Is there an actual reason for Foden not being played? I have no idea, mate. I wish I could tell you. According to Pep himself, it's literally just because Mahrez, Grealish, and all these other options, they need minutes. They've been benched a lot this season, and now it's happening to Foden. So it's kind of just a cycle. Who's the best option for the last game week for Foden's? Sorry, I said that. How'd you get the Arsenal kit like that? It's the away kit scrum extension. So yeah, I'll try to get it on screen as well. When on screen, I'll put it in the live chat, and that's it. Will Gundogan play? It all depends on the Carabao Cup. I think Cancelo, or should I say, I think Gundogan will play in midweek, and then it will be he'll be benched for the next game in Game Week 16. Don't give me headaches next week. He gives me headaches every single week, to be fair. Start Wilson, Andreas, Mitrovic if they're all fit for next week. Definitely I'd start Wilson and Mitrovic. I'm not so sure about Andreas, but he's such a troll for me. Zaha played centrally today. He did. It's not something I'd expect long term, and it all depends on what happens with the other strikers as well. But yeah, Zaha, look, when he's the focal point and he's getting the bulk of the big chances, he's a good FPL option, but he's not someone I can rely on long term. App crash killed my Foden to Maddison transfer. Wow, I'd be gutted for you. Also, captaincy was on Foden, made a mistake of starting Kilman instead of Gabriel, all of that, and still got 51. That's a decent score considering all that you said. We're just hoping that they fix things very soon. Zaha versus Aurea battle, though. Yes, true, but still, once again, it's maybe a bias against Zaha. Maybe I'm being a bit irrational, but I wouldn't be just chasing Zaha's points from last week and bringing him in. That's just basically what I'm saying. Foden to KDB and then upgrade Saka to Kane. Upgrade Saka to Kane. Well, in order to do that, you'd have to also transfer someone else out, because obviously you can't do a midfielder to a forward. So if that's only for a -4, yeah, fine, fair enough, I'd do it. But otherwise, no. Dylan, do you have any clue what happened to Wilson? Yes, he's ill. He basically just got subbed off because he's ill. We covered it earlier in the video. I'm so sad I was going to do Zaha to Tavernier, but then I found out Foden didn't start, so brought out Salah and Foden for Rashford and De Bruyne. Yeah, there's a lot of kind of examples like that this week. It's just one of those. And sometimes the crash worked in your favour, sometimes it didn't. Is what it is. Have 2 free transfer for Game Week 16. Good position to be in. I like that. And maybe you could even take a -4 hit, although you don't need to. No predictions for the UCL draw, really, Superstar. I'll just see what happens and then we'll plan accordingly. Jesus to Firmino. Not sure I'd do that. Thoughts on Darwin? I think he's one of the best one-week striker punts this week, besides, obviously, Kane and Haaland are the 2 best, but behind those 2, I think shortly after, it would be Darwin Nunez or Firmino. Who have you got for UCL? I think Real Madrid. They're my favourites. Then it's probably City, then Bayern Munich, then PSG. Yeah, that would be my top 4, and I don't see any other team winning it. Of course, it can happen. Maybe Liverpool are the kind of 5th favourites. They've been doing well against the big teams and the big occasions, really. How to change your wake in FPL? It's literally in the Chrome extension I put just now. It's in the link that I put in the chat. Double up on Arsenal defence. I've got White and add Saliba, Gabriel. I wouldn't double up on Arsenal defence. I just have one. Obviously, the fixture's really good, and you could do that if you don't have triple Arsenal already, so that's fine. Out of those 2, I prefer Saliba a little bit more. Obviously, it doesn't matter if he gets the 1 more yellow card, because you get unlimited transfers anyway heading into 17. So, yeah, I'd probably say Saliba out of those 2. Captain Wilson has still got 57. Zaha and Salah saved it. Yeah, Fair play. Zaha's, yeah, really good stuff. 57 is a decent score, all things considered. I always look at defenders versus wingers. Yeah, true. And look, the thing is, I also have looked at it a few times this season, and it hasn't paid off. But look, you can't just look at your own experiences and then just form all your decisions based off that. If England get to the final, this would be the 11. It's not bad, but I don't see that going to the final or winning it, I'll be honest. I think there's a lot of weaknesses there. Trent easily got at. Maguire is another weak point. It's a very defensive setup, which Southgate will do. Sterling is awful at the moment. So I think there's a lot of weaknesses in the England team. I don't think they'll reach the final. All red midfield hindsight. I mean, I don't know what to say, to be honest. Normally it's all blue for me. But yeah, at this point, it doesn't matter who I have. I'm not really expecting much. Replacements for DCL, I'd go for a Liverpool forward. So Nunez or Firmino. Good Dalla replacement. I already have Saliba, Trippier, Perisic and Cancelo. In that case, I'm not sure what your budget is, but if you can go to it, I'd highly recommend Trent or Robertson. And if you can't do it, fair enough. I would probably go to... It's a tricky one this week. Yeah, just let me know your funds and then I'll give you a better answer, or I'll give you a definitive answer. But for me, it would be a Liverpool fullback. Also bring in Ben White and Kulusevski for Saka for -4. I would not get rid of Saka for Kulusevski for -4, personally. Should I go Anderson to Gabriel Saliba? I'd probably look to make another transfer elsewhere. I think you could make more points from a transfer elsewhere. Who do you think will be the highest point scorer next week? Probably Harry Kane. I'm just saying the first name that came to my head. Probably Kane. And he's in my top 4 captaincy options for sure next week. I think Foden getting a rest before the World Cup. Why would Pep care? Who knows? Most likely he feels Foden has taken foot off the gas out of the World Cup. Yeah, I mean, that's what a lot of people are pointing towards, but he kind of denies it. Hey Dylan, I'm a Liverpool supporter. I need you to change your mind on the UCL, please. Why? I just said Liverpool are 5th favourites. That's all. I'm not trying to jinx you, don't worry. Your prediction for the World Cup final? Tough one, but either Argentina or Brazil versus maybe France, and I think Brazil are the favourites. So yeah, Brazil-France final potentially. It's a tough one though, and it depends on other circumstances. You know, are the teams going to be in with their best players? You know, there's already kind of a lot of injury doubts with some top nations as well. Crash annoying as Foden to Trossard and switch to Salah captaincy didn't go through. Got 58 though, so only a small red. Could have been worse, but not too bad. I think 58 is not too shabby. I think 2 free transfers now. Mitrovic to Nunez needs 1.3 million, such as Wilson to Solanke or Pope to Iverson. I would rather do Wilson to Solanke, but my feeling is that Wilson will be completely fine for the Chelsea game, and he's got a good chance of returns. Start Anderson or Wilson next week. Wilson. Really hoping it's an Argentina-Portugal final. Yeah, I mean, either way, if that happens and however it goes, it won't change my mind, basically. I think the debate's already settled, but obviously everyone has their own opinion. Let's wait and see. Portugal have a good team, but the manager lets them down, I think, and he was very fortunate in 2016, in my opinion. Which team do you support? I support Arsenal. If Maguire and Shaw start and Southgate negative again in the big games, it's not worth packing the bags for the trip. Look, Shaw and Maguire, to be fair, are good for England, and Shaw has been in good form recently, but I don't really see them as great players. Like, you compare them to the other top nations, like Brazil, and I don't think England's 11 really stacks up. Somerville or Bailey punt? Good question. Wow. I'd probably say Somerville. No. Okay, no. Looking at the fixture, no, I completely take back what I said. I just remembered who they're playing. Yeah, Leon Bailey for me. Sorry. Despite how poor Spurs have been recently, no, I wouldn't do that. Yeah, the crash saved me. I was going to do -4 Foden to Rashford, but I didn't do it. Yeah, that's literally what I did. Justin got the start for a 7-pointer. Just if the crash to also help me out to not got Cancelo captain. Yeah, I wish the crash basically prevented me from doing what I did. Benching Trent for Andreas Gameweek 16? No, don't bench Trent. No. Debating to swap Foden to De Bruyne? I would do it, especially for free, but wait for the midweek games. That's what I would highly recommend. 68 points for me this game week. Yep, you are right about the Salah gamble. Andreas will come off the bench to 74. That's really good stuff. Great score. And I didn't expect Salah to do that well. But look, fair play to any of you who captained him. I saw a few captainers for Salah. I'm happy to have him at least, and he was one of the main reasons why I gained a little bit of rank towards the end. But yeah, Salah's once again looking like an option, which is good to see. 8 goals, or is it now 9 goals in his last 8 games? I'm the one who asked about the Dalla replacement. I got 1.2 million in the bank. Already have Perisic. It's a tough one. It is a tough one. You could do a like for like for sure, but after what I saw today from United, I'm not so sure. So I'd probably double up on either City or Arsenal's defence, and I'm guessing you can't double up on City, so maybe double up on Arsenal defence, which is not ideal, but I'm not that confident in clean sheets across the rest of the board. He'll, assuming they both start, which I think they will, I'd say Kulusevski. What happened with DCL? He was subbed off for around 60 minutes with an injury. Ashlyn, yes, at the moment I'd say sell Foden, but wait for the midweek games, wait for more information, because if he does start against Brentford, which there's still a chance, he's got a great chance of returns. All I've learned is if you have Foden, get him out, maybe. Hope to Alisson. For free, yes, do not take a hit for goalkeepers. And either way, I'm still very concerned about Liverpool's defence. The reason why I recommend the likes of Trent and Robertson is because they have the attacking potential. I know Alisson has a high ceiling with saves, bonus points and assists, but yeah, still, goalkeeper transfers are very futile sometimes. Mount to Maddison or keep for Nottingham Forest and Bournemouth. Remember, it's only 1 game week left before the World Cup, so yeah, I'd probably just do Mount to Maddison. Brazil have 3 strong 11s. Tough decision for Tite, yeah. Brazil are very defensive, very defensive. You know, for them, it's kind of, you know, if you look at their record, by the way, it's incredible. They lost like 5 games on the Tite in like 6 years. And in competitive games, it's like 3 or 4 losses. It's incredible. I think they have a few weaknesses, of course. They can be got at, but I don't see any team whatsoever like thrashing Brazil. You know, if they lose, it's by 1 or 2 goals or something. It's really difficult to beat them. And for me, they're definitely top 3 nations in the world. I should have played Andreas. To be fair, though, I mean, how many times is Cancelo going to get a red card? And, you know, it leads to a penalty. And then Andres Pereira is going to be there on the pitch taking them. It's not going to happen too many times this season, mate. So I wouldn't kick yourself about that. It won't be captaincy punt. No chance for me. You think Bailey will become one of those rejuvenate players because of a new manager believing in them? Yeah, he actually could be very similar to Dan Juma from last season for Villarreal under Unai Emery. That could be a great shout. Yeah, he could be. Would I go for him as a result? No. But let's say, for example, he puts in another top-tier performance in Game Week 16, then he could be one to seriously consider in the unlimited transfers. Zinchenko or Saliba? Saliba for me. Zinchenko is injury-prone, and he also will probably rotate with Tierney in the weeks to come. Or, you know, when I say weeks to come, I mean game weeks to come, because obviously we have the break. When will these KDB owners start feeling this bench pain? It's not fair. He had, I think, 1 earlier this season. I'm actually a De Bruyne owner in the UCL Fantasy, and I'm feeling the pain there. So, yeah, with Pep, he's just absolutely trolled me recently. I said he's not been that bad this season. As soon as I said it, he took it personally. And he's benched Foden in FPL when I had him, and De Bruyne in UCL Fantasy. So, hopefully, he is benched soon, but it won't happen, I think, in 16. Good, John. Enjoy it. Obviously, FPL can come back very, very quickly, but hopefully you keep on doing well. And thank you to everyone for tuning in. We've kind of covered everything we need to. And if you have had a bad game week like me, do not worry. There's still a long way to go. I'm kind of writing the season off anyway, just because, you know, at this point, it's kind of tough to explain, but, you know, you kind of second guess yourself sometimes with these kind of decisions that could go against you. But look, you've got to take on the chin, and sometimes the luck will go in your favor. And I have made some bad decisions. I think the main one, like I said, was getting Rashford in. But hopefully he can make up for it against Fulham in Game Week 16. Let's wait and see what Game Week 16 has in store for us. Thank you to everyone for tuning in today. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel and also smash the like button. Let's get the stream to over 200 likes, and let's also push on towards 17,000 subscribers. It's been a blast as always. Thank you very much to everyone who has commented, who has also taken part in the discussion. Join the Discord server. The link's in the description below. The FPL League. Be sure to join all of that as well. And before I go, I want to actually quickly put up the World Cup Fantasy League code, and so you can join that already. The plan is to actually put some content up very soon. So let me just put this link out very quickly before we wrap up. And yeah, be sure to join. Hopefully World Cup Fantasy is much better. There's already a very interesting set of options. I don't think they've added everyone just yet, which is quite weird. But the plan is to put some content out very soon. And also the Champions League draw tomorrow, so there could be UCL fantasy content very, very soon. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram if you want, DylanRCM. And I wish you all the best of luck for Game Week 16. Enjoy the football as always, and don't worry too much about FPL. Things will get better. I'll see you next time.